Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And we have a new intro.
We do have a new intro. It's season 5.
At the beginning. Like it sounds like we're going into a horror film.
Yeah, the countdown was a little intense.
It goes like from horror to dreamy to old school. It just covers the gambit of things.
We run everywhere.
That's what we do. We cover the gamut of movies. It was all intentional, obviously, of course.
Obviously.
You're such an outlaw.
Oh, well, it's Tuesday. You guys doing okay? I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not even awake today, and I have to go watch. Tracy and I have to go watch a couple-hour movie.
Go watch some bike riders beat up on people.
Yeah, that movie, people should be warned. If you go thinking it's about like cyclists, like in the Tour de France or something like that, it's not that kind of bike riding.
I'm not gonna have.
Well, if you've watched the trailer at all,
I'm just thinking of like my mom who just goes to the theater and says,
at the marquee,
well, that name looks interesting. Let's go see bike riders.
That sounds
I feel
fun.
like I'm unintentionally like ready for this movie, and I just need I've got like the shirt, and I just need to do the scene where he like muscles his muscles up and leans over, and he's like, "Hey."
She's got the hair slicked back. She's got the black tank top. She's got the tats going. Oh yeah, this is for you, Valerie.
Tracy, if you could just get a leather vest before you have to go, and some
I have some biker
sleeves.
jackets. You can wear Dave's since he's not going to be there. I can wear mine. Yeah. Maybe I will wear mine. Maybe I'll wear it tomorrow on Good Things Utah.
Yes, you should. That'd be cool. I'd be down with that.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
She's a surprise every time. Just when you think you've got it figured out, she'll surprise you again.
You on your toes.
That's right.
Yeah, someone was surprised. They're like, because I post a lot of trailers on my Instagram. If you're not following me on my Instagram at I am Val Cameron, I post a lot of trailers of movies that are coming up. And often I don't even watch these trailers because I like to go in pretty fresh, but I post them so other people can know what movies are coming out and when. And I posted a trailer about a horror film, and somebody commented and they're like, "Are you going to go watch this?" And I'm like, "I mean, if I have to." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "I'm not really into horror films." And they're like, "You like thrillers, but you don't like horrors?" And I'm like, "I'm weird. Don't even try to." Well, I just said, don't even try and figure it out. Like, there's no explanation from what kind of horror films I like to what thrillers to why I'll watch this one to that one. I've stopped trying to understand my tastes in movies. So you shouldn't even try.
Val's like Jim Henson. You can't put her in a box.
She's an enigma.
No, if you tried,
she's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a biker jacket.
Yes, all of those things.
With a.
Oh, he's cute.
Is that a plushie?
Little Jurassic Park raptor.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I like him. That's cute. Well, I went down a strange rabbit hole yesterday while I was working. I watched a movie about the last planes out of Kandahar. It's a documentary on HBO. They're both documentaries, and it was like the last weeks of the Afghanistan occupation with the U.S. and why it all went to pot and how it all went bad and why. And then there's one called The Forever Prisoner, which is a guy who was captured on the battlefield early in the war in Afghanistan, who's never been charged with anything. But he was kind of the first guy that we did the enhanced interrogation tactics to.
Wow.
And because of him, they were already doing this to him while they were trying to figure out if it was legal. And then they decided it was legal and then started doing it at Guantanamo and at Abu Ghraib and stuff like that.
And then there's all the movies that came after that.
Right. But he's the first one that this has happened to, and they've never charged him with anything. And they basically said they never will. He's going to live and die in prison. And there's like this cover up. They destroyed the tapes because they had videotaped all the interrogations and everything. But he was the one that they were doing all this stuff to before, and then went let's do this to everybody. So that was a really
Yeah. All of
one.
that seems to really be in harmony with what we say our ideals and beliefs are in the United
That's
States of America.
the
That's
movie
weird.
You know,
both of those movies point those out. Yeah. And they're like, we are we kind of the bad guys sometimes? So that was, but I gotta say, HBO Max documentaries are usually really, really good. Like there's some good stuff on there.
yeah,
So it's not the happiest background working material, but
But if you like that kind of stuff, like if you're
was
into
fascinating.
documentaries, there are a lot of good docs on Max and Amazon Prime right now, actually.
Mm,
Yeah.
there you go. I just watched the Jim Henson one. That's why I
that's such a good
referenced
one.
You
it
guys are
earlier.
ahead of me on that. I need to
That's
get
such
on
a good
that.
one. I like that one a lot.
It was really interesting. There was a lot that I didn't know, so I don't consider myself a Jim Henson super fan necessarily,
Right.
but I did like I know Jim Henson, I know the Muppets, I respect what he
Sesame
accomplished,
Street.
but I
Yeah.
didn't know the origins and like the local television station that he worked on, and that's where Muppets came about and how his wife helped create that and everything. I didn't know that Muppets stood for something. I thought
Yeah.
that's just what he called them.
I love that Kermit was his mother's green coat and some ping pong balls.
Yeah.
And that was Kermit. And that's how he
Got to
started.
start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I love
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I love that he and Frank Oz originally were reversed. So he was Bert and Frank Oz was Ernie, and then they realized, no, you're Ernie, I'm Bert, and that's how it's got to be. And so they're reflections of their personality a little bit.
And Kermit and Piggy and yeah, this sections with Frank Oz talking about Henson was just fantastic.
Yeah,
And because
Yeah.
I took an experimental film class in college, and so I had seen Timepiece, which I love. I think Henson's Timepiece is one of the best short films I've ever seen, and so I knew some of that stuff. But to see them talking about like one-on-one, talking with Frank Oz, talking about Jim Henson, that was
yeah,
really, really good. And his son talking about it and being honest about the relationship with his parents, because they didn't always, have the best relationship. So
yeah. Yeah, that was interesting as well because it could have been very easy to not have that relationship with him as they got older, but it seems like they all still maintain that despite his
and
absenteeism.
it could have been easy for his son and some of those people to be like, hey, I don't want to talk about my dad in a tone that's not just sunshine and rainbows,
Yeah, yeah. But it was very candid. It was very good. The next one on my list is the Gene Wilder one that's on Netflix.
Yes.
So I'll check that one out.
I haven't seen that one, but that's on my list. Yeah.
Yep.
And I just kind of on a weird tangent because that's how my brain works. Josh Gad is working with Mel Brooks to do Spaceballs 2. So that'll
Oh
be
my gosh.
interesting.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking Gene Wilder, Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks. That's how I got there. But
Yeah, no, it's an easy connect. Like I'm with you.
okay.
I'm not with them on the decision to make a Spaceballs 2. Like
I don't think it's really necessary.
it's not. Right? I don't just because it was successful and it's kind of had a resurgence and people are interested in it doesn't mean we need a sequel. We don't need more
That's
Spaceballs.
Hollywood
Like
right now.
Practical Magic 2, freaking
Mhm.
20 years later. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? These ladies are so successful. They have so many
Mhm.
other things going on. Like, unless this script is magnificent, that
Right.
movie was fine just the way it was. There's no reason to
Yeah.
go any further with it.
But I've been burned by those thoughts before. I will say though, if it's not Spaceballs the sequel for the title, then I don't know
Yes.
what we're
Yeah.
doing here.
Has
Like,
to
Yeah.
be. Yes.
but I've said that before, Val. Like, I don't need this sequel. Why are we? I said that about Top Gun. Why do we need a Top Gun sequel? And then
Yeah.
I saw it, and we needed it. And
I also said it about Inside Out too.
I know I was
Yeah.
going to say this is another one
And
that we're talking about today.
so maybe we're wrong, but I don't know. It's
Okay, but
hard when
here's-
they're 20 years later
I agree.
to see it. But yeah, I mean, Maverick, I mean, come on.
It was incredible.
It was nostalgia, but it was original, but yet I think the cinematography was one of the most
It
compelling things.
was
Like
an
the fact that they had
experience.
those IMAX cameras in the cockpits
Yeah.
with those guys flying those planes.
Yeah. People can
Incredible.
complain about the story all day long, but if you're going to Top Gun for the story, you're going for the wrong reasons. It was
Yeah.
a theater, a pure theatrical experience.
We had to have that after COVID. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah, we needed it. And I'm glad they fought for it. I mean, we talked about it on our podcast episode. If you haven't caught it, go watch it or listen to it or whatever. But yeah, we needed it. So yeah, I guess sometimes sequels are good. And I just think Spaceballs is one of those that it also was great at that time. The cheesiness, that quirkiness of that time is not the quirkiness of today. So to capture that in this time is a little scary for me because we're not kitschy right now is a different kind of kitschy than back then. And you can't take the risks now with comedy that you could back then.
Right. Yeah. And with a lot of Mel Brooks stuff, there's a lot that I look at and I think that doesn't get made today in the same way. You mentioned Blazing Saddles. That would be a big one that doesn't get made that way today.
Well, even like episodes of Seinfeld I look at sometimes and I'm like, ooh, that didn't age well.
There's a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff. I listen to 80s music and I'm like, wow, Predator much?
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad when you're listening to a song. You're like, wait a second, this is not how I remember this song.
Why was I allowed to listen to this as a child?
And
Why
I
was
think
it
my
on
parents
the
just
air
didn't know.
and like winning awards?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff that happened in the 80s that just should be left there. And we can respect it back then, or we can be like, oh, like just bury that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets a little scary when you want to take something that was good at that time, but to put I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I felt that way when they said they were making an Inside Out too. You know, and that the original came out 9 years ago, so not quite 20, but 9 years is still a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
And I just kind of felt I'm sure there's more story to tell, right? She is still alive, and so she still has emotions, and that's an ongoing roller coaster. But I just didn't know if we needed to go back to that world.
And it's interesting because it's been 9 years our time. It's been what, 2 years?
Yeah, like 1 or 2 years her time.
I think she turns 12 at the end of one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And like you're just thinking about puberty,
one.
but the light hasn't come on yet. Yeah.
The fact that they have a red flashing puberty button, just. By the way, we will be talking spoilers in this. So
yes,
so
please.
If you haven't seen Inside Out 2, we'll get into spoilers, and so you'll definitely want to avoid those and come back and listen at another time. But if you haven't seen Inside Out 2, it's good. I mean, if you're like going to turn off now, I will say it's good. It's worth going to see. It's been super successful at the box office. Had a killer weekend. 155 million domestically, 140 million internationally. So 295 million on the first weekend.
They said worldwide gross. That's the highest grossing worldwide ever. It's not the highest grossing domestically. That's still Incredibles 2. But in terms, when you add in both US and domestic, it's the highest grossing animated movie ever. So that's fantastic.
Incredibles 2, I think, really did well just on the anticipation factor. I don't know that I enjoyed it as much as the original Incredibles.
No. Outside of the Toy Story sequels, their sequels have not done great.
Yeah.
And Cars 2 is probably their worst movie, or one of the worst
Cars
movies.
3 made up for Cars 2.
Made up for it, but it's still not like, when you think Pixar, you don't think Cars 3 necessarily.
Well, our good friend Blake Lisman, part of the Age of Geek family, insists that Cars 2 is the best Pixar movie ever made.
Blake, we got to have words.
He and I get along in so many different ways and agree on so many different things, but that is the one thing that drives a wedge in our relationship, because I just cannot get on the same page with him with Cars 2. So
that was such a cash grab and that was such a bad movie.
Yeah.
Okay, Blake, we're having words.
Inside Out 2 is not a bad movie, though. I think there's hype there, but I think it lives up to the hype. This is one of the better sequels that Pixar has done.
it was scary too going into this because I don't know about you guys, but I'd put Inside Out and probably in the top 5 of
Yeah.
Pixar films. If
My
not,
top 10.
it's up there. You know,
It's my top 10.
this isn't like they're doing a sequel to The Good Dinosaur. You know, and
Okay.
this is one
I
that
liked The Good
I
Dinosaur.
did too. I did
it's not
too.
bad, but it's not like as beloved
Tracy.
as Inside. I got the raised eyebrow and the
Yeah.
lean in.
And the lean in. It was
Oh,
a little intense there for a moment. I
was-
was a little scared for you, but we
man.
made it through.
No, but I mean the people that really connected with Inside Out, like it really connects with them, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that we're now going to continue that story, and they lost 2 of the vocal talents allegedly based on contract disputes, that would worried me as well going into this. Plus, it's not Pete Docter directing it. You've got
No, he's a producer. Yeah.
So he's still producing it, but I'm like, ooh, there was a lot of warning signs, but it turned out pretty good. I don't think it gets as emotional as Inside Out does, but it's still really good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping, and maybe it did happen. Pete Docter kind of executive produced this, like Steven Spielberg executive produced Back to the Future. Sure, Zemeckis directed it, but I mean,
I think
there's
Pete
a little
had a lot
hand
to
holding.
do with
Yeah,
this one. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. But you
So-
know, in talking of sequels, it's interesting because I saw an interview with is it Bob Iger? Yeah, Bob Iger, and he had
That
said
guy.
that
Oh,
you know,
is that what's his name? Bob?
Bobby.
Oh yeah, Iger. Yeah,
Bobby I.
yeah, Bobby I.
So it's just Bobby.
Yeah.
So
It
talking
wasn't
to
Bobby
Bobby the
EI.
other
Yeah.
day, no, but he had an interview, and this is interesting to me because he said that Pixar and Disney are both going to be focusing more on like sequels and franchises and less on original content, and that's really scary to me because if we don't have Inside Out, you don't get Inside Out 2. If you
Right.
don't take the chance with Toy Story, you're never getting 4 more sequels. You know, this is a studio that was based on original creative concepts that nobody else would touch. I mean, Wall-E is a Criterion Collection movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, these are movies that are like the creme de la creme. And I don't know. I just think that sometimes if you like, I get it. You need an Inside Out 2, which is a good movie and it's a huge influx of cash. It's a win-win, right?
Right.
But if you go away from doing some of these creative things and you're only going to talk about what can we market, what can we franchise, because on paper, a movie about a 13-year-old or an 11-year-old girl's emotions and the things happening inside her head, that's not a green light picture at most studios, let alone theme park and merchandise. But they made it work.
Well, and you bring up theme park and merchandise, and I think that may play a role in why they're looking at doing more sequels, because they have invested recently so much in some of these intellectual properties that they've created rides or attractions for in the parks, that I think they want to perpetuate that so that people keep it in their minds. I mean, Inside Out coming up on 9 years, that means the kids who saw it are now becoming adults. Giving it a sequel, making it relevant again, I think is part of their strategy. And Disney is an entertainment business. Like, we think of them as a movie studio, we think of them as maybe a theme park, but what they really are is an entertainment. They want to entertain, and so they're going to do anything to build up that entertainment factor, and strengthen it across all fronts instead of just making movies.
Well, and I don't know why anybody's surprised by Bobby's words. Like, they've been doing sequels and focusing on sequels and franchises for the past 6 years. They just finally said it out loud. So the fact that he's letting people know that this is what we're doing, they're not doing anything different than DreamWorks does. They're not doing anything different from the freaking, what's the other one that does the Despicable Me?
Oh, Illumination,
Yeah.
Because they're all focusing on the same movies and franchises over and over. I don't think by saying that we're focusing on it doesn't mean that every once in a while they're not going to pop out something new. They're probably just going to put the new on Disney Plus, which is okay with me. I do want to see new and innovative content, But right now, the studio is losing money, right? And I don't want to lose Disney Animation and I don't want to lose Pixar. So
But
I'm sure they looked at the numbers from what the other Bob freaking sunk them into a hole. So
Right.
this Bob's trying to pull him out of the hole. And by saying it out loud, you don't really have the right to be pissed. They're telling you the story. If you don't like it, walk away. That's my thing. I can be mad at the content I don't know we're not getting, or I can just hope that they're going to continue to make good stuff. But honestly, I haven't been super blown away by really anything that they've made for a while.
Well, I was going to say the quality has been the issue. And I think that if you continue, but if you focus only on sequels and IP, you're going to lose those new voices that are going to create. You've got to
Yeah.
feed that pipeline. You
Yeah.
can only do so many incredible movies. You can only do so many Inside Out movies. Like, where do we go?
They'll learn it when people
here.
stop paying for it. You know what I mean? So
And I think that our Wish didn't do well. I think
No.
that Turning Red and Luca would have done okay at the box office. Of course, they came out straight to streaming. But I mean, Soul was a really good movie. Is it in my top 10 of Pixar? Probably not. But
it's in my top
that
10.
won an Academy Award.
Yeah.
And so I just worry that you're going to get, it's like, I love Ratatouille when he's talking about you've got to embrace the new. Like, that is such a talk and a testament to the filmmakers. And it's so sad because it's not the Pixar that started this revolution. And when you read, like, if you read Creativity Inc., which is written by Ed Catmull, who ran Pixar for a while, it's a book about how to deal with creative people in the business world. But really, it's also a story about how they made Pixar. And one of his things was you have to embrace failure and you have to embrace fear. And you can't be afraid. And I get it. You have to make money. I get you got to feed the machine. But if you choke off the creative, you're not going to get the idea that's going to create the next 4 pieces of sequels for.
To Val's point, I think we'll see more of the original stuff on the streaming. I think that movie audiences have changed a lot since Pixar came into its prime. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot to get a lot of people out to the movie theater to watch a movie. And Disney's learned that lesson again and again. Wish is a great example. I thought Wish was fine, but it completely flopped in the theater.
Well, they also didn't market it. Like, it was lost in whatever bubble they decided to do with it.
But I also think people don't go and see the stuff that they're not familiar with. You look at what does really well at the movie theaters. It's the stuff that people are like, I know what I'm getting with this. It's a Bad Boys, Ride or Die, or whatever it was called, did okay because people like Bad Boys. Not
and I think,
generally, but the franchise.
It's the studios and theaters' faults because they're pricing the average family out of it.
Let's be realistic for a second. I want to take off our Disney fandom hat and our fandom of being creative and wanting to see innovative things. Let's put that to the side for a minute, okay? Since the pandemic, film studios have been losing money and Disney is a sieve. Okay. Disney in general as a company is a sieve. Right. You also have AI coming up, right? Okay. Right. So you've got studios that have to fire animators that are wondering what is going to happen with AI. Animated movies take sometimes up to 7 years to complete.
Right.
So when you have a sequel or a prequel or a franchise, you already have content that is created, that can be replicated, that can be easily manipulated into a movie that can make money. As they're doing these things to get these movies out, to keep money flowing into the studio, they've got 3 movies that they're making that are attached to other movies that came out, right? Cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, whatever. Then you've got a movie all the way down here that's the new. So for the next, just realistically, what I'm thinking is for the next 5 to 6 years, we're going to see recreated content because that's what they can afford to make right now. And they're going to be dabbling with AI to see how that's going to come into it because it's for them fiscally responsible to dab into the AI world. This is the world we're getting into. You can be angry about it or not, but we've got to move forward. You either get on and learn how to deal with it and stay relevant, or you get out, like the printing press, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
this is how we have to continue to move forward with technology.
Yeah. I
There
just have
will be new content. We just don't know what that looks like. They're not working on new. It's just what they can put out now is what they can recreate, because that's what they can afford, because every single company in the world right now, outside of some shady stuff, is losing money and needs to get creative on how to still make money and still keep their company open, even some of the biggest companies in the world. So hopefully the content is good. People, when economy is going down, when election years are happening, they want comfort. And
Yeah.
if you're going to be smart as a company, you're going to sell comfort to your audience. So we can look at it as much as we want to see more Soul. We want to see more Wally. I do. I'm totally for it. But at the same time, I just want to have Disney in 5 years. And
Yeah,
the reality is Disney and Pixar, Disney Animated Studios has already failed so many times, right?
and
It
it's
has
almost
almost
gone
been
under
shut
sometimes.
down
Yeah.
3 times
Right.
in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Not
And
even
Pixar
just
just laid off. Pixar just laid off about 15% of their staff.
Yeah. So it does have to make money. People get mad. Well, it's just a cash grab. Well, they have to pay people.
Right.
If you don't want
Yeah.
everything to go AI and to start getting rid of all animators altogether, they've got to make money.
And it is hard because we often, and we as a group, not as much, but the average movie person is like, I want something new. I want something original. You give them something new and something original, and they go, yeah.
Not like
It's not
that.
as good what you used to give me.
Right.
You can't win. You can't
I
win.
mean, it's like I was saying, I posted on Facebook on Friday. I went to go see Tuesday or Thursday. Yeah, I saw Thursday. Saw Tuesday on Thursday. And
Okay,
I was
stop. Just like that's too many days in a sentence.
The movie Tuesday, which
the
is
movie Tuesday, on the day Thursday, a brilliant, beautiful movie that is, I was the only one there, and it's going to get hardly any play, and then it'll go to streaming. And that just, like, I like streaming, but there's something about experiencing. I'll never forget being in the theater opening night of Wall-E, and all the critics, before Wall-E comes out, all the critics are like, this is going to bomb because it's the first 20 minutes. There's no dialogue. Kids are going to get bored. They're going to hate it. So it's getting review bombed by the critics before it even comes out. Pixar's stock actually dropped like 7% the morning of the release because people were afraid it was going to bomb. I'm there opening night, packed theater. And when Wall-E gets crushed, you can hear a pin drop in that theater.
Yeah.
And this little kid goes, Mom, is he going to be okay? And the mom goes, I don't know. And that was one of the best movie going experiences to me, because it was like, you gave them something new and original, and we loved it. And I don't want to be the old man, get off my lawn, but we should get back.
It's lightning. Like it doesn't. It's one of those things that, as a film critic and as a film lover, I think we all know this, is that they're not all going to be the Wall-E. They're not all going to be the Up. But
if you don't give that a chance to become that, then we lose.
Yeah, but I also don't want them to just make new content to make new content.
Agreed.
If they don't have a storyline that comes up that isn't good,
exactly,
and they're like, okay, well, in the meantime, we know this is going to work, and it's a pretty decent story, and let's do it.
But even if you make a crappy sequel like Lightyear, that's not going to work either.
I liked Lightyear, so you can take that opinion and shove it.
So for those of you that were worried about spoilers, and you might have stuck around a little bit.
All right, it's been 30 minutes. Let's talk about
Nothing to worry about.
Here is an unpopular opinion for the most part.
Okay.
I think Inside Out 2 is better than the original movie.
Really?
So let's get into that really quick. Okay.
Please.
So I went and saw the original Inside Out with my daughter, and she was 12 years old, I believe, 11 or 12 years old. And to me, I was just like, wow, this is like, for us to sit here and see this as a mom and daughter, as her going through this, and it made her uncomfortable. And I don't think that she kept telling me like she didn't like it very much because I think it hit too close to home, right? And then she watched it again last night because she's going to go see 2 tonight with her boyfriend, and she doesn't even like to go see movies. So I'm excited that she's going to see it because my daughter grew up with anxiety. Okay. With a family, and I love our family, but some of our family members don't really believe that anxiety is a real thing, that food choices are you being a problem, that kids that act out or maybe don't know what their thought process is just them being difficult. So for anyone, no matter how old you are, to explain what anxiety is like and what it feels like is very hard to do, because if you've never experienced it, you don't understand. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for me, when we talk about going to these movies and for kids and people to feel like they're being seen and heard, when
Right.
I was watching some of the scenes in this, when anxiety is stuck
Yeah.
in that scene at the board, just in this loop and can't get out and can't hear anything and can't do anything, I could think of my daughter having a panic attack at a movie theater and not being able to think and breathe and understand where she is. And I can't help her and I can't reach her and I can't get to her. And she can't explain to the other family members as a kid
Right.
how this feels. And people are just like, you just need to get over it. You need to shake it
Right.
off. Why are you causing a problem? Why can't you just do these things? Just deal with it, right? To somebody that really has anxiety, and I'm not saying that kids don't cause problems because they're kids,
Oh,
right?
Right. Right.
But when it comes to a mental health issue that you're dealing with, I applaud Disney for creating
Mhm.
Inside Out, and I applaud them for pushing it even further with Inside Out 2, for Turning Red, to take that topic
Yeah.
and put it into an animated movie. Imagine pitching that to a studio 10
Right.
to 20 years ago.
So it's going to be
Right.
about getting your period for the first time, but we're going to
I'm
make
out.
it a red panda instead.
I'm out.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not getting made. And then to have another female character who plays hockey, who's dealing with all the things that you deal with when junior high, and then going to high school and sports and wanting people to like you, or just your junior high is when you kind of figure out where you fit in the world and you start realizing that you can have your own opinions, but those opinions may not fit with other people's opinions. So you might be eating in the freaking bathroom instead of the lunchroom in the wrong. Like, you have all of these things going on, and to be able to take that whole emotion that we've all experienced and putting it on a screen and have it make sense,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
that
scene
is
was the best scene in the
risky.
movie. Yeah.
It was emotional for me. So yeah,
Mhm.
Bing Bong, freaking emotional. I cry when I think about the first one. There was a lot of
Right.
emotions in that, and we wouldn't
I know.
have felt this movie without that movie, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But this movie for me, I want, people are saying it was more for parents than children, and I agree. I don't think it's more. I do think that it helps
It's an
adults
older.
remember what they went through and
Right.
to give their kids some grace. But I think it also, for anyone any age that has anxiety and has never been able to explain it, you can visually see it. And people in
Yeah.
the audience felt uncomfortable and tense during that
Yeah.
scene. And so now you have a glimpse of it. So for me, this one hit home, and kids in that audience and people that go see this will feel seen and heard. And to
Well,
me, that is important, and it's ballsy for an animated movie.
I was going to say, Jake, when we were at the screening, I mean, you've got 6 kids, but you've got a couple of kids right now going through kind of that age range. How did you respond to it?
Yeah, it was interesting, and I liked what you said, Val, where, you know, it's for anybody that's experienced that. I think there's a lot in both Inside Out movies that are just part of the human experience. But as a parent, I mean, there
Mhm.
were scenes where I was just thinking, I know exactly. I've seen my kids do that. Like when the daughter wakes up the morning that puberty hit, that to have it just be a switch and a button that gets pushed in the middle of the night is exactly how it feels to the people that are experiencing it, and the people experiencing it from the outside. It's like, what the heck happened? Overnight, you have turned into this pubescent monster. and not on purpose, and we love her, we love them all, but like when when she wakes up and her mom's like, have you started packing yet? And she's like, I'm the worst. And just like that, she's just immediately, and I thought, yeah, I've seen my kids react like that. And then thinking about, talking to my kids about their struggles in school and with friends and trying to fit in and all of that, the battles that they're facing are real. And I think that previous generations of adults that I remember growing up, it was, oh, just suck it up. You'll get through school. It'll be fine. And it's kind of really, yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah, of course you got bullied. Everybody gets bullied. That's just part of growing up.
Right. And
when you're in the middle of it, that is the most real and important thing. I had the chance to talk about this on Fan Effect podcast, and the host Kellyanne kind of brought up that she was a little bit sad that the family island was so much smaller than the friendship island, because it shows here's friendship island's going strong, and there's family island that's really small.
It's true.
It's exactly how teenage kids are. They hit a point where it's like, I don't really care what I do care. I still care. It's important to me, but not outwardly about what mom and dad
your
say.
Mom and your dad, for the most part, most of us, not everyone,
right?
You know that no matter what you do, if you're in a secure family environment, that they're going to love you, right?
Right.
80% of the families out there, maybe 70%, but when you go to school, that's a bigger what if, right? And so it's not that they don't love us or we didn't love our parents, but it was like, I know mom's going to be home when I get there. I don't know who I'm going to be able to sit with at lunch today. I don't know whose ideas changed of me,
Well, and I think when you hit that age, that's when you're starting to go out in the world a little bit more and trying to figure out your place in the world a little bit more. And so what your friends think becomes so much more important to you. Right or wrong, I'm not trying to debate the morality of it. I'm just saying that is the reality. That's just how it is. And I just think that what Inside Out and Inside Out 2 both do so well is they take these abstract ideas, like you said, and they put them on the screen, like you said, and really make you, like, it helps you kind of reflect a little bit on yourself and your own experience. And
because we forget as adults that we went through that, because now we have all of these adult responsibilities, and then our kids, like, we're trying to do our best, but sometimes, like, we've got all this stress, so they have their stress, but we're like, come on, like, again today, because there's and we don't slow down to be like, okay, I'm going through this. They're probably going through this. Let's both take a step back. Right. And maybe discuss what we're going through, or give each other a minute to breathe. And I'm not saying like baby your kids. We all have to learn failure. We all have to learn, how to deal with not fitting in, and how to deal with maybe our opinions that we hold dear to us. And they show this in the movie, may not feel like the most popular thing to do, but it's the right thing to do for me, and to learn that struggle on which decision are you going to make, right? Yeah. And kids and adults have to learn how to do this by yourselves. So you can't do that for your kids. Your kids do need to learn how to deal with hard things. However, we shouldn't be the hard thing that our kids are dealing with during the hardest time of their life.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the moments that got me really, that really hit home for me, is when Joy is like, okay, we'll take these bad thoughts and these bad memories and we'll just put them in the chute and we'll shoot them to the back of the mind because we don't need those anymore. Yeah. And I love the fact that they brought all those memories, because that helps make Riley who she is. And she's not a complete person without all of those things, without all of the emotions, all in harmony and working together, the good, the bad, the ugly, all form those strands to create the personality tree, which I thought that was a beautiful metaphor.
I love that too. And Joy is definitely the epitome of that toxic positivity, where everything, if you just put a smile on your face and you're optimistic and you'll get through it and everything's going to be fine. And again, the message that we get from this movie is really the best way to get through it is to accept that it happened and work through it.
Well, and she sent sadness to save the day.
Well,
Sadness is one of my favorite characters in all of Pixar. I love her.
Yeah, it was Sadness and not awkward, but
Embarrassment.
embarrassment
Yeah.
that got him through.
Saved the day.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that the other emotions always turn to Joy, and then they're like, well, she doesn't know what she's doing. And Joy kind of has a breakdown, and she's like, you're right. I don't.
Yeah.
And she's like, and it hurts because she doesn't maybe need me as much. And I think it's interesting because joy is Riley's main emotion. Sadness is her mom's main emotion, and anger is typically the dad's main emotion. We don't see the dad get mad, but he's the one that usually is the talking in the dad's head.
Yeah.
But I love that they give Joy this extra shade to her because Joy realizes that she can't always save the day, and she can't always have a plan like anxiety does, and she can't always know what to do, and she may not be needed as much anymore, and that's a painful thing to think of.
Yeah. The scene that hit me hard was when they go into Imagination Land, and they've got all of the, I don't know, little dream doodle guys drawing
dream doodles. I like that.
the animators that are and anxiety's just like, give me all of the awful things that could possibly happen. We've got a plan for all of it. And that hit me hard because
that moment.
I've had that moment. There are times where, so I get a lot of social anxiety. I don't know if you guys have noticed this about me, but I do. And there have been times where it's like, I should go do this. I would really probably enjoy it. I would probably have fun. But then the anxiety kicks in, and it's every bad thing that is going to possibly happen at that event / party / get together. And I decide not to go a lot of times because I just buy into it. I'm like, the only thing we can do to avoid all these negative things from happening is just stay home where it's safe, and I'll be fine.
Can I give you an example that I've seen that I was so proud that you didn't?
Uh-oh. Sure.
No, this is good. And I don't know how many of our listeners know this, but when we were at FanX, and the day of, we got Blake from FanX came up to you and said, I need a moderator for Kevin Nash from the WWE. His panel's coming up and I need a moderator. And Jake was like, well, I've never moderated before. And we're like, you'll do awesome. And I could see it in your face, Jake. Like, Val and I are like giddy. We're like, yes, let's go surprise Jake. And then Blake mentions it to you, and I could see, because I know you, and I could just see you're like excited, and then you're like, oh crap. But that means I got about
so it was the day before when he came and asked us to do it, and it was going to be the next day.
So and I got all that time to think about all that.
I had about 45 minutes of sleep that night trying to think about everything I was going to, and it went swimmingly. Kevin Nash was a great guest, and it was super easy. I just let him talk.
I was so happy with you as a moderator too.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell at first he was just kind of like feeling you out, and then the two of you got to talking, and it was just a conversation. It wasn't an interview. It was like a sit down at a bar and have a conversation with somebody.
Well, and I want to say this, and it's not me patting myself on the back, but something that I've learned over the years, and I feel very strongly about now, is that Blake came to me to do that panel.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, because Jake would be better at this than me. This is Jake's panel. And I know some people that will take panels just to be on the panel, to get the most panels, to be with the most celebrities. And if you don't know enough about it and you're not super passionate about it, you can still do a good interview. I've had to do those before, right? But places like FanX, when you know that the moderator is as passionate about that topic as the person on the panel and the audience watching the panel, it is magic happening. Mm-hmm. So if you cannot be selfish for 1 minute, moderators, filmmakers, and maybe let the person who knows more about the topic moderate, make the film, have the discussion, lead the class, whatever, everyone is going to benefit more from this. And that is also a reason why I love Pixar, because when Pixar picks a topic like this, they sit in a room and they talk to the people that are making the film, and they go with the best idea and the most experienced with knowledge with that. They take each other's personal stories
Right.
and backgrounds, and they put them into these characters. They're not just writing for the sake of writing. They're just
Right.
not just moderating for the sake of moderating. Jake, we knew you were going to be great at this. We believed in you, and
Yeah.
you did
And
so
you
great.
were. It was so good. And
I had fun at the end of the day. I had fun.
you could tell.
None of the bad stuff I thought was going to happen happened, so that was good news.
What was the worst? What was the worst thing that you thought could have happened?
That he was gonna jackknife powerbomb me through the table because I was gonna say something offensive. He
I
didn't.
could see that at 4 a.m. That's pretty
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah,
At
that was
3 in the
definitely
afternoon,
toward
that's
that was
terrifying,
definitely toward the later end of the night for sure, because like all of the normal stuff had already been worked through, and that was like, well, you could just say this, and he's going to powerbomb you. Oh,
imagination's
yeah.
like, that was the brainstorm. That was the big idea that came through.
That was
giant
the big
light bulb.
idea.
That
Yeah.
was the big idea.
Yeah.
But one of the things, talking, Valerie, what you said, one of the things I read about today with the making of this is the director's like, I'm a guy and I'm a middle-aged man. So he brought in a group that they called Riley's Crew. And it was like 9 different girls of different ages, anywhere from like 15 to like 8, because they're like, this film's going to take 4 or 5 years to make.
Yeah.
And so they would bring them in once a month, either to the studio or send them a cut of the movie. And these girls would give feedback. And these girls, they're like, they took it so seriously.
Yeah.
Like these girls were like doing it like book reports, like in school. And they had like cover pages, like cover letters and everything, going through and talking about, does this relationship work between the girls? And it's kind of hinted that maybe Riley has a crush on the skate captain. Is it because maybe she's gay? We don't know. Does it matter? No. But it could just be that she looks up to her, and is the relationship with the other 2 girls, is that when somebody leaves your group to go to another group, how does that affect you? And then the relationships with the parents. And so they got this feedback continually through the making of the movie. And the kids were like, this works, that doesn't work. Which is really, I think, speaks to the quality that they were trying to get for this film. This wasn't just something, let's just cash this out and let's make the movie and grab the money and run. It really felt like there was some real attempts to really make something really good here.
Yeah. And I think it shows through when you watch it. I think that it does feel,
you can tell when something's made with passion and with love and attention, as opposed to, you go get your McDonald's hamburger and it's like the bun is mushed and the ketchup spilling out the side, and you're like, this person obviously does not care.
I would like to know when you've had a different experience at McDonald's than that, because that's almost I've rarely gotten a passionate burger from McDonald's that the person was passionate about making.
I'm trying to think. Five Guys used to be better, but they've kind of dropped in quality lately. But you know what I mean.
If somebody can find a passionate burger for us, please message us, because we would like a good passionate burger in our lives.
We're always looking for a good passionate burger, for sure. We should open a restaurant called Passionate Burger.
Oh
I have no
we'd
restaurant.
We'd have to live up to that. That would
I would go there.
I would go there. I just don't know that I could, like you said, about live up to that name. And
yeah, I mean, that's a
you're
big.
setting yourself a high bar. Yeah.
But
you know what I mean? Like, you can tell when a movie is like made it's just thrown out there. There's no attention to it. There's no care. There's no crafts.
The Alkalite. The Alkalite.
Yeah. The Strangers Chapter 1,
I thought you liked that one, Tracy.
The greatest movie of the year. No, but I mean, like, okay, so here's an example. The Good Robot, or The Wild Robot, coming out later this year. Haven't seen it. Looks fantastic. That looks like a wildly creative, innovative new idea with a touch of Baymax. So it's not completely creative, because I'm like, I can kind of see Baymax doing this, but it just looks like there's so much care to it. And then I see something like Minions 2, where it just looks like, let's throw every fart gag that we can into this movie just to make some movie for kids.
There's a whole group of kids out there that just need some good fart jokes in their life, and that's okay.
Sure. But
3 of them are the boys that live in my house. One of them is 17.
There's a place for fart joke movies. You don't have to go. That's what's cool.
I enjoy a good fart joke. I'm a 49-year-old man, and sometimes a good fart joke, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it's all there is, then it gets a little much. An hour and a
Yeah.
half of fart jokes just gets.
Is exactly what a 6-year-old boy wants. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know their audience, and the 49-year-old man is not their audience.
Nope.
Because when your audience,
Oh no, do we lose him?
Jake got cut. We lost Jake.
He was about to. He was
had
about
a good
to
point. He was
deliver.
about to jab you. You got rid of him, didn't you? He was.
I have no control. I have no.
I know
control.
you don't. We took the control away from you a long time ago.
I think it's a cabal. Like he was about to give away the studio secrets, and they were like, "Nope,
Oh, they yanked
out of
him.
there." Yeah.
wow. Well,
Okay, now we've lost Val.
I
Val was here.
yeah, I just disappeared it, and it said, "Oops, something went wrong," and I don't know what went wrong, and so
I did it again.
again. Oh
I
boy.
got kicked out of the show. Anyway, yeah, hopefully Val pops back in. We were just saying that we
there.
thought that you were gonna give away some kind of studio secret, so they like the deep state got you or something.
Oh yeah, I was pulling a Tom Holland, and so they had to come in and stop me real quick. Yeah. No, it just kicked me out.
So real quick, do you guys feel like I felt like Anxiety was great. Loved Anxiety, loved her character, loved Maya Hawke as the voice of Anxiety. I felt like the other new emotions kind of took a back seat to her a little bit. I've seen it twice now, and and at first I felt like Envy really got short-sighted. She got a little bit more when I saw it the second time. I loved her. She's like, look at her hair. We need hair like that, and I'm like, oh, I can relate, sister.
I think by definition, Envy is pretty short-sighted, just generally speaking.
I know,
well,
but
and this is how I took it: is that they're just like they showed the different parents had different emotions that were in charge. Is that there's going to be another kid out there that Envy is their top, right? But we're going from this child and going from joy to to Anxiety makes a lot of sense. I don't see this character going from joy to Envy.
I agree.
And so for me, it's just like our original characters. Joy is here, and then these guys are just kind of sidekicks, and that's how it was. And for me, it worked out really well. And I'm glad Boredom wasn't high on her list of happenings either, because there are some kids that boredom is their number one. Oh yeah. How'd your day go? Fine. Do you want to elaborate? No. Okay.
Yeah. I love that moment when the parents are like, how was camp? And like nobody knows what to do, and then Ennui just comes over, pushes the thing, and
I've been waiting for this moment my whole life.
Yeah. And I love that because that is how my kids talk to me. So how was, camp? How was work? Whatever. Good.
And then
care to elaborate? Nope.
And
then they cut to the dad said, she's been gone at camp and doesn't say anything. Should we be worried? And he's like, and back to the game.
Yeah. So that is one of my issues with this. I think that overall the dad's pretty good, but they definitely play to that, like, dad's not as involved. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some stereotypes in it.
He's the internet zaddy right now, though. So
he is. Gen Z's at it again, another zaddy. It wasn't enough for Pedro Pascal. It's now.
Pedro Pascal is a zaddy, though.
And real quick, second question. I felt like the replacement of Mindy Kaling, I'm sorry, I don't remember the actress's name. I thought Disgust, that was an okay vocal change. Yes. I did not, and I love Tony Hale. I think Tony Hale is a great actor. He's an incredibly good comedic actor. His fear bothered me. And I don't know if it was the voice or the way the character was written or the delivery. I felt like that did not work well for me. Whereas I loved Fear in the original, and this one, he was just kind of annoying.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to step in the shoes of a Bill Hader. And I appreciate
it. I just don't feel like he got this character.
Yeah, it didn't really stand out for me enough to have an opinion on it. I just thought it was a really good combination of feelings, and I like that they bottled them all up and sent them away. Like, to me, I was like, I remember that.
What's
Oh,
the
and
correct
it
promotion?
happens a few times in
Embarrassment
your life,
punches,
people.
breathing holes.
It happens more than once in your
Yeah.
life where you're going to bottle up those feelings and push them to the back of your mind.
I do love Pouchy. I think Pouchy's a
Oh
great
my
addition.
gosh.
And the fact
People-
that he ended up with anger is
Backpack,
just
backpack.
People were posting on, and we discussed this off air, but the Run Disney site had a meltdown today, and people were posting Pouchy. They're like, "Hey, Pouchy, do you have any ideas how to fix these servers?" And it was just so good.
I love it when he's like, well, we've got 3 things, and I don't have time for this. And Anger's just reaching in and just pulling stuff out. So much dynamite. So much dynamite.
All Pouchy wants to do is blow things up.
And that's when Anger knew they were going to be friends.
I love Ron Funches, who does the voice of the blue dog. It's not Bluey. I can't remember the dog name.
Oh my gosh, I just loved it. Come on, kids.
That was Ron Funches is one of the best vocal. He does he does a lot on the Poison Ivy series on HBO, which is not kid friendly, but he's so good in that. And I've seen some of his stand up. Ron Funches is fantastic.
If he's a voice actor, he's probably coming to Fan X this year.
I hope so, because I'd love to meet Ron Funches.
Oh.
And then a friend of James Owen is actually the voice of the Deep Dark Secret. So that was kind of fun. Steve Purcell, who's a former Disney animator or a Pixar animator, he directed The Time That Toy Story Forgot, or The Toy Story That Time Forgot. He directed that, and he did a bunch of stuff, but he's the voice of the Deep Dark Secret. So that was really cool to see his name. I'm like,
oh my gosh, I love the freaking action game.
Yeah.
Video game character.
Oh my gosh.
When he's running into
I love
the walls.
that they totally like pixelated him like our old video games, but then the tuck and roll. Oh my gosh.
Well, and he's trying to come out of the vault and he keeps running into the
Yeah. He had to keep adjusting his angle.
Moving sideways to come out. Yeah. There were some really good moments in this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all laughed out loud a couple times, even Dave the Babe. Yeah, and he never saw the first one, and he was like, all right, fine, I'll go. I don't think he realized he was going to enjoy it as much as he did. He had some moments, so.
Yeah. And this seems to be one that it's hitting well with audiences across the board. It's not just...
Yeah.
It's going to have some legs.
There's
not a whole lot competition-wise out there.
I think where it'll run into a wall is Deadpool and Wolverine, which I think is the week after. Is next Friday.
Yeah, but you're not really taking your kids.
No.
And you might be taking your kids to that. I'm not here to tell you how to raise your kids.
That's not till the end.
It's a different audience, though. I think it's not what you consider a family-friendly film.
Yeah, and a lot of people, this is the thing, is that there's a huge audience type that doesn't go see a movie until 2 weeks after it comes out, and it's on the family friendly price range of things, because that's how most of us with a lot of kids or any kids go and see a movie, because it's so expensive. And then I do think that once it hits streaming, it's going to be huge streaming. I mean, this is a movie I think that I wouldn't mind watching it again.
I could sit and watch it, no problem.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah,
I'm going tomorrow morning, in fact, with some of my kids, so
nice.
And my wife. So
let us know how the kids feel.
Yeah, Marin especially is interested. She's the one that anxiety is a big part of her life right now, and so
my niece has really bad anxiety, and she cried, and she texted me after. She's like, the fact that they visually represented what I feel on screen, and then I can say to people, it's like Val was saying about her daughter, to say, this is what I go through. And that's what I loved. Real quick before we get to the grades, when Inside Out 1 came out, I had a lot of friends, and I don't have kids, and so I don't have this opportunity, but I had friends who were like, I can sit down and talk to my kids about their emotions and their feelings in a whole different way than I could before this movie, because now there's these connections and these visualizations, and I think that's going to be big with the anxiety one. Because that's one that a lot of people just get over it. You're fine.
And I don't think that you need to have kids to relate to this film. No. We were all kids at one point, except for there's a couple people that I think were never kids, but also most of us deal with our
I just
emotions, other
mean
people's emotions. But yeah, I get what you're saying,
the
Tracy.
communication between you and your kids and being able to be like, I have a new way of talking to my children and bonding with them
Yeah.
about things that I did before, I think is really a great
Yeah.
benefit to these movies.
Yeah.
Well, we need to give it a grade.
Okay.
This was an easy one for me as far as grading goes. It's an A-. I feel like um, I think that there was a lot that it built off of from the original Inside Out. I did feel like it borrowed heavily from a lot of the things in Inside Out. The emotions having to go to one part of the brain and then come back was very similar to the same journey that they take in the first movie. But it still adds to it, and it overall was so enjoyable. So an A- for me. I mean, I can get nitpicky, I guess, with the little things like that,
Yeah.
but
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Originally, when I came out, I was thinking more of B+, but the next day, I'm like, you know what? This is probably more of an A-.
Mhm.
I've seen it twice now. That's still where I'm going to stick. It's not like the upper echelons of Pixar, and I liked Luca. I like Turning Red. I like Soul a lot. I would say this is much better than those movies, especially, sorry, Lightyear. I think this is much better than Lightyear.
No, I get why people don't
It's
like Lightyear.
it's
Okay.
it's been one of their more creative, innovative, heartfelt movies, because some of these other movies you didn't get that heart to it that Pixar's known for. And this one has a lot of that to it. Very creative. I loved the brainstorm. I loved the sarcasm. I thought that was just
the sarcasm's classic.
great. And it interrupts the stream of consciousness. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
fact that all the things that she's thinking about are in the stream of consciousness. And so then we end up with, they're going to hop on the pizza and eventually they have to hop on broccoli because she's disgusted.
What are they doing to her up there?
No,
There's
it's
just
an
really
A- for
smart
me
stuff.
as well. This I could watch it again. There were a few things, if I'm going to be nitpicky, that I thought they could have cut out or weren't my favorite, but an A- is a great grade. I also think you didn't have to see the first one.
Yeah.
Dave is testament to that you can see the second one. It's not like you're going to be confused. They do set it up so that you understand who all these characters are. You may not know what she went through in the first one, but it's enough. They start from a couple of years later and it's, you understand it. So if you haven't seen the first, you should try it streaming, but if not, and your kids haven't seen it, it's okay. But yeah, A- for me. I would definitely watch this again, and I do think this is one of the better movies they've made in a long time. And I just applaud Pixar and Disney for taking these topics that don't seem super sexy. Not that kids' movies are sexy, but you have to think, oh, this is going to be a seller. This is going to be interesting. It's not a bunch of fart jokes. It's not a dragon. It's not, something like that. And the fact that it works for audiences across the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in the mind of a 13-year-old girl, and boys are going to be just a 49-year-old male was just as happy with this movie as probably the 13-year-old girl. The boys in the audience weren't bored by any means that we watched,
I think everybody enjoyed it that we saw. And it was nice.
Girls have to watch male boy characters all the time, and we're
100%.
totally fine with it. So
I know, but
just,
but we typically, males, and I'm speaking for all of us now, we get upset when we have to experience a movie from the point of view of a woman.
You have to, because it's a little bit
just
more
hard.
difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's so
We just don't get it. You guys get it, and you should. We're much more universal than women.
Speaking of, I just learned something about a female-based movie that people got pissed off about last year. And I just want to say this before we get out of here because it was something cool I learned today. Did you know there's a version of the Barbie movie in ASL?
I did.
know.
I did not know this. Did we talk about it? And I totally forgot it.
But
I talked to my friend today.
I think we talked about it. It was still in the theater, but then the Max version.
Well, I didn't remember it. And my
I
friend
don't think we
today
talked about it
said
because it wasn't, the ASL version wasn't out. We talked about it and when it was still in theaters.
Well, my friend today said that after seeing Barbie the first time, he really enjoyed it, but then seeing it in the ASL version added so much to his experience watching the film that it made him enjoy the movie even more. So now I'm going to have to watch it in the ASL version. But I thought that was cool to piss off even more male audience members that don't want to be inclusive.
I mean, if you're gonna sit there and complain about open captioning on a movie, ASL is just gonna blow your mind. That's all I've got to say.
One of my not guilty pleasure, but one of my pleasures is watching like ASL interpreters at like rap concerts.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
So into it, and they are so fast. It's so good.
Yeah.
ASL just, I'll say this and then we can close out, but ASL is just one of the most expressive, especially facial expression languages out there, because you think about how we convey sarcasm or we convey jokes or humor or sadness. It's all in the tone of our voice. And my wife and I are some of the least expressive people just naturally. And
No
so
way.
that has been the biggest adjustment for us, is to be more expressive. And I watch my kids who are deaf and they sign, and like they are so much more expressive than I am. And it's amazing. So I love it.
Do you look like boredom when you are signing? Are you sending the boredom back to your kids?
Yeah. So, all right, but there you go. Inside Out 2. It's a great movie. Go check it out. I think it's going to be around in the theaters for a little while, but don't wait. Go see it. And there is just something about seeing it in a group, in a theater setting. So I would definitely recommend that. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure to like this video, leave a comment. When you leave comments, I think everybody knows this, it helps with the algorithm so more people see our videos. So even if you want to leave a comment and say, Jake, your opinions stink, I get it, I understand, we'll take it, because that's engagement.
Valerie's right. Lightyear should be the #1 Pixar movie of all time.
No, I did not say that. That's not what came out of my mouth.
The fan giving feedback is saying that, not you.
But other than that, thank you all for your support. We always appreciate it. And until next time, we won't see you at the movies.